Now, you guys don't realize this, but this is actually take 2. As I check on what's happening on our live control room.
Yay,
I think
live.
Yeah, I think we're going live. It's rather chaotic as we get things sorted out, get things started, especially on when it's after hours agility, because it can be a challenge
it's a little crazy. We have a class to like get out of the arena. We have to set up. Anyways, we got it down.
It's lots of fun. We're ready. And I had a couple of amazing grade 1 classes over there. Yeah, actually.
What week is it?
3-4 or 4-3.
Nice.
Yeah, so I was really impressed. I thought everybody was working really hard.
Almost halfway through the program.
Yeah, so today, though, we're going to be talking about some dog agility training. And I know we have a lot of dog agility competitors here and people that are maybe just getting into dog agility, but we also have some people that are dog agility pros. They've competed a lot. Mm-hmm. And they think that this would be an interesting live stream for them to watch, as well as get some cool tips about teaching your dog to build drive for the 2-on, 2-off contact.
This is like one of my favorite topics. So yesterday I posted on my Facebook page, I want to do a live stream. Tell me what to talk about. And there's so many good ideas, many of which I wrote down so that we can do future live streams about them. But one of them that seemed to be a popular choice was that of contacts and teaching drivey, reliable contacts. And I know a lot of people come to me for contact training, whether it's in classes or private lessons. And a lot of people just don't like training them because it's a bit monotonous. It's a bit frustrating. I'm the opposite. I love it. I love teaching contacts of all kinds. And so hopefully I'll be able to share some tips and tricks on things that I've done with my own dogs. And I've had my fair share of struggles. I've trained lots of dogs, and everyone I've had to just do things slightly differently. So now that I'm on my kabillionth dog, I have lots of, there's a lot of dogs.
Yeah.
I have a lot of ideas that have worked for either all of the dogs or some of the dogs. So I'm hoping to share a lot of that with you tonight. I brought a bunch of dogs that do agility. One, a retired dog, one that has not done agility in forever, and then my current agility dog, Beeline. She has both running contacts and stop contacts, so that's going to be proved to be very exciting. I have only... Is something wrong with your hair?
I just realized how ridiculous it is.
I've only been training my running contacts lately, so I'm hoping she'll actually make some mistakes, because then I can kind of show you what to do.
Yeah, and what's really cool about this is I'm looking in the chat. I see people joining us from all over the place, but Shandy Blake made an important comment.
Hi, Shandy.
Shandy said, "Yay, this is perfect timing. My dog needs a refresher." So if you are brand new to dog agility, or you, as I mentioned, you're a seasoned agility competitor, dogs can use these agility refreshers teaching some of these behaviors. I wanted to say hello to someone I saw rolling through the chat. Let's see here. Where did she go?
Oh my gosh, you guys are commenting.
Megan Ashley is one of our My Dog Can students.
Oh,
and she said,
hi,
Fox
Megan.
and I are just setting in at home after agility tonight. So we want to say hi to Megan and congratulate her on her recent success. Now, in tonight's episode, we're going to talk about some agility dog training, specifically building drive for those 2-on, 2-off contacts. I'm Ken Steepe.
I'm Kayl McCann.
And welcome back to McCann Dogs. Okay, so did you want to talk about, if maybe you're new to the stream, I see the chat is lighting up here. Something I should mention, if you're on a Facebook and you click the link through Facebook, you're likely still inside of Facebook. They have this sneaky method where they hold you inside there, but they let you watch the video. You won't have access to that live chat. So make sure you close out, go over to the YouTube app on your phone, or go to
Safari.
Yeah, go to YouTube, on your browser, and then you'll be able to access the chat, because we do these agility after hours agilities and our training stations for you. So this is the right time for you to ask your questions, to really nail down some of your dog agility training, specifically to contacts tonight. Really get some help from a 21-time world champion of dog agility. And just talk a little bit about, if someone's brand new here, who you are.
Yeah, my name's Kayl, and I have been doing agility for quite some time. I actually started when I was a little kid, 6 years old to be exact. I was several years ago now, a little while ago. And I've really found passion in high-level agility. I have been competing for Team Canada since 2004 and trained lots of dogs. I currently run a Border Collie, but I've also trained lots of other breeds as well. I've had a Malinois, Papillon, toy poodle, mixed breeds, all kinds of stuff. And then my students' dogs have breeds of all kinds. And the reason why I bring that up is a lot of people look at, a great trainer with a border collie and they say, she's great because she just has a border collie. And certainly border collies are wonderful, and I think that they're great. But I want to share some tricks with you that work with all kinds of dogs as well. So whether your dog is having issues with contacts because they're too aroused, they're too excited, or maybe they're not driving and they're not interested, maybe they're distracted, hopefully something will come up that you'll be able to take with you and move on.
So lots of great questions already coming in the chat. And remember, if you're watching this on Facebook, head over to YouTube so that you do have access to the chat where you can really ask some of those great questions. And at this point, I always want to know, where are you watching from? And
oh my God,
isn't that good?
Seriously?
Yeah, look at how much fun that is. Yeah, I want to know where you guys are watching from. I see some people have jumped in from Northern Ontario, from Australia, and the list goes on. I'm really excited about tonight because I know, having been an agility competitor, this was a bit of a challenge for me. And I know Kayl identified.
It's a challenge for a lot of people.
Yeah, and Kayl, I was able to identify some little things that I was doing that were really undoing my solid stopped contacts. In stopped contacts, let's talk about the value of stopped contacts while people are letting us know where they're watching from.
Yeah, I do see a lot of questions about running contacts and stop contacts in here, so I probably should just address that right off the bat. If you're in the agility community, you probably know that running contacts are all the rage right now. It's like you're not cool unless you have running contacts. And I'm here to say that is baloney. I think that you need to really consider what is most appropriate for your dog, and better yet, what's most appropriate for you. What kind of runner are you? What kind of dog trainer are you? How experienced are you? How good is your eye? How often can you practice? There's a bunch of variables that you need to think about before making it the right decision for your dog. Personally, up until the last dog that I've run, my dogs have had a running A-frame and a target on both the dog walk and the teeter-totter. My current dog, a 2-year-old border collie Beeline, which you'll meet her tonight, she has a running A-frame, target on the teeter-totter, and then she has been trained to do both a running and a target dog walk. And I will tell you, I'm a pretty good dog trainer, and it is a full-time job. How many times a week do I talk about my running dog walk to you?
Constantly. Every night you come home after work.
It is a full-time commitment. It is fun, but it is so irritating.
Yeah.
So much work.
For sure. And we're going to give you some great tips for that. You guys are blowing up the chat. And I just wanted to say hello. Now we've got a few pages of chat, but people are joining us from Costa Rica, Mississippi, Ottawa, Ontario, Quebec, Dallas, Calgary, Hingham, Massachusetts, Louisiana, India, Jacksonville, North Carolina, Poland, Boston. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And I'm really excited about that. And sometimes we'll go live to Dan, the moderator man. He makes this chat work well. He's able to answer your questions, drop links. And I'd love to go live to Dan right now. I wonder what he's doing. I'm so interested to find out. And if you feel like I'm leading us somewhere, I am. So let's see what Dan's doing. Let's go to live to Dan.
Oh my God.
There he is. Dan, the moderator man, is live in studio, or in our Fan Dogs and Training facility, and he's going to help us tonight with the moderation. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. Now let's get down.
Can you just switch us back over?
Oh, yep. Sorry, guys. What's the first thing that you want to talk about tonight when it comes to? As you're asked, if questions come to mind, drop them in the chat. I'm doing my best to capture every question about contact training that I can and add it to our queue. So if it's something springs to mind, drop it in the chat and I'll try to get it. But where do you want to start with this?
So I just want to finish off my thing about running contacts. I'm not going to talk about how to train running contacts tonight. That can be for another time. I'm going to focus specifically on building excellent stop contacts. You had asked me earlier, why would you teach a stop contact? Well, it's proven to be a little bit more reliable than a running contact. And also for some people, it's a really great opportunity to give you a chance to, have a mental moment to reconnect with the dog, get into position, especially if you're not a super fast runner. It can be really helpful to have your dog pause at the end of a contact and allow you to be in better position before releasing them. But you can train a really good stop contact. I have not had a running a dog walk before this, and I have won many world championships with stop contacts, but my stop contacts are really fast.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about that.
And I have practiced the art of a great quick release. So I'm going to talk about that. I actually just want to go over what I'm going to talk about tonight because it might help mold your questions or sort of help you to know that I'm sort of to what I'm going to go through. So I'm going to show you a final product with one of my dogs, kind of what we're working towards training with them. I also want to talk to you about building the value for a target. I teach my dogs to do a nose target. That's how I teach this initially. And I'm going to talk about why I do that and how I do it to make them obsessed with doing this so that you get a lot of speed to the bottom. I'm also going to talk about common mistakes and ways that people screw their contacts up without even knowing it. Lots of times when people say, oh, my dog does this wrong, I usually know it's like one of three things because I've just seen it happen so many times. So I'm going to share that with you. I'm going to talk about different ways to reward your dog that's going to enhance their behavior that can make a huge difference. And then I'm also going to talk about different problem solving ideas. So things that come up and what you can do to work through them. So that's kind of where we're headed. I'm going to pick a dog. I don't know whether I should use Beeline or Funky.
Okay. It's up to you, whichever one you prefer. And Madison Winters asks, Kayl, could you possibly mention how you to start teaching the 2-on 2-off behavior? It's something I've struggled with, and it's something I'd love to learn better on training my for my soon-to-be upcoming Border Collie pup.
Yeah, I'll go over that when I talk to you about building the value for the target. I'll just show you maybe the first couple steps that you can start with. It's really, really easy, and it's something that I start with my dogs as puppies because it's low impact on their body. It's not overwhelming for them, and that way you can start really early. But I'm gonna grab a dog. I don't know who should I use, Funky or Beeline? You guys see Beeline all the time. Funky's my 12-year-old mixed breed dog. She hasn't done a dog walk in like a really long time, so I don't know if her final performance will be good.
Yeah, but maybe it's a good opportunity to show some of the mistakes.
I just love her so much. Okay, I'm going to use Funky. Yeah. She's more fun. No, she's not more fun.
Okay, well, Kayl goes and gets that. Oh, Shandy Blake says, Funky!
Everybody.
Everyone is saying Lucky Paws, Ashley Angotti, everyone's saying Funky. And here she is. Okay. You can often hear Funky before you can see Funky. So we're going to jump over.
I just need a second.
I need to figure out, if you've been with us at the train station on our Thursday night live streams, you'll know that I toot the train whistle when I go over to camera 2. I feel like I need something for after hours agility. I'd love to know what you guys think would be an appropriate sound or something to transition over to camera 2 with, because I feel a little bit naked. I'm going to be honest with you. It's just a standard sort of transition. It's much less exciting than I wish it were. So Kayl's just grabbed Funky, her mixed breed dog, and we are going to get right into the action. Are you ready to go?
Okay, I'm just going to show the final product.
Okay, stand by. We're going to go over to camera 2.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to show final product. What I'm hoping that she does is run as fast as she possibly can down to the bottom of the contact and then stop with her front paws. Now when she learned, she's 12 years old, but when she learned initially, her criteria was to put her front 2 feet on the grass and then touch her nose or drop her head. I didn't actually care if she physically touched the ground. I just wanted her to drop her head and keep her head square and straight. I eventually wean off of that last step once I'm happy with my dog's performance. So she's going to probably drop her head, but she's not going to touch it. I actually have no idea what she's going to do, to be perfectly honest. We'll have to see. Okay, ready? Yes, good. Get your bum back on that target. Good girl. All right, so she was a little bit too far off for my liking, so I just had her back up. Now I'm going to reward her in position. Yes, yes, good. Good, tuck it out. Good. Okay, yay! Good girl. Come here, do that thing. Good. Get out. All right, so that's what I pretty much expect my dog to do. Now, I'll just sort of comment about how I rewarded there. So I did 2 different types of rewards there. First thing that I did is I let her tug on the toy, but you'll notice she kept her position. She has been trained and proofed millions of times that she must not leave position until she hears me say okay. That's her release command, regardless of what I do. So if I have a toy, if I'm moving, whatever I'm doing, she's got to stay in position until she hears that magic word, as I like to say. The other thing that I did is I threw the reward forward, and that was to ensure that she kept her head straight. I am very, very particular about what my dog's head is doing in any type of contact training that I do, whether it's a stop contact or whether it's a run contact. And to be honest with you, other than the feet, the head is what I'm mostly watching. Where is she looking? Is she turning and looking back at me? I don't really want that until after her job is complete, so that when I'm rewarding, I always reward the dog for straight going forward. So that's why I threw the toy forward, and then I released her with that command once she was ready. So I want to dial it back now and just kind of go back to the beginning and talk to you a little bit about the actual target behavior, how we start. I know Madison had asked about this. This is going to be Funky's favorite part because she loves this. Okay, I need to grab some targets. I'm going to go right to that plank there, sweetheart.
Okay. I want to say hello to SD Cruiser, and he said, oh, OMG, you need a squeaker warning. I just had 2 doodles charge me.
Yeah, I can switch up my toy for sure. Sorry. That was probably really
SD Cruiser, yeah.
Okay. Will you just grab me a toy out of the bin behind you on the top of my crate? Okay, so targets. There are lots of targets you can use. You can start with a margarine lid or something like that. I then usually progress to something clear, or you can take targets and you can eventually cut them into a really, really small size. I don't know if you can see that. See how little that is? Tiny, tiny, tiny. Can you get me a different toy? Sorry.
Not that one?
No, that one's not exciting.
What a nice catch, though. Did
everyone that was good. That's a boring toy. Something fuzzy. Very specific, people. You have to have a great toy. All right, so I'm going to show you a little bit about the target first. What I need for her to do... No, hon, come on.
Yeah, so I've chosen a fuzzy toy, and Kayl doesn't seem to like it.
Sure.
Now, let me just point out that is there anything more exciting than a wild, fun...
Okay, fine. Oh, yes.
Got her.
This is ridiculous. Oh, Funky really likes it. Okay, out. All right. It's a little bit big to manage. I'm going to shove it down the back of my pants right now. All right. Can you see this plank, hon? Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So... first things first is I need to make sure that my dog, toss it down, that my dog understands to tap her nose to the lid, and I build a lot of value for this. Now, Funky does this really well. She absolutely loves this, but what I'm going to do is hold the target out in front, and I'm going to rev her up. I have several pieces of food in my hand, and each time she touches the target, I'm going to say yes and then reward. Ready? Okay. Yes. Good. Yes. 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 Good. Yes. Yes. Yes, good. Now, see how hard she's driving? She never started this way. When she began, she would just graze her nose to the target. So to make it more exciting, I would hold her collar back. Ready, set, target. Yeah, good girl. And if she'd smash her nose into it, make it a lot of fun, I would then yes and reward. Or sometimes I would do the same thing, and I would have a toy. Ready, on your mark, get set, target. Yes, get it, target. Oh, you little witch. She went right for the food. You're naughty. Get the tug. Oh, that's better. You little turkey. She stole all those treats off that plank. Get that thing. Tug, 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 tug. Good. Ready? Out. Set. Target. Yes, get it. Ha, ha, ha. Good girl. Okay, get it. Good girl. So she touches her target, and then I can reward from there. So right now all I care about is what she's doing with her nose. I don't really care what she's doing with her body, but that is quickly going to change because targeting is not just about the nose. Okay, good girl. It's about what they're doing with their body as well. So once I've done the nose targeting, hold on, I ran out of treats. I'm gonna get more cookies. Once I've done the nose targeting, the next thing that I'm going to do is work a little bit on just the 2 on 2 off part. And I actually teach it separately with the dog. So I'm going to get a couple treats ready here. I'm just going to lure her into position. Good girl. I can yes, good girl, and reward. You don't have to do that yet, sweet. Here. Yes, good girl. Okay, leave it. Yes. So I can yes and reward as she puts her hand down, or her paws down. Good. Now, do you notice how I'm feeding my dog right now? I'm feeding her over her shoulders to ensure that she stays straight. If I yes and feed like this, look at the position I'm encouraging from my dog. I'm encouraging her to turn and look at me. I'm encouraging her to be sideways. So when I'm rewarding, good girl, I'm going to counterbalance. So the more turned in she is, the more rewarding out I'm going to do. Okay, get it. Here. Here, babe. Miss, it's in me. Stuck to my finger. So once I've done some 2 on 2 off, and I'm smashing through these progressions, I would do this way slower than what I'm doing. I would then start to work on the target, and this is my favorite part. I'm just going to turn it sideways so you guys can see a little bit better. Good girl. Okay, hop up. Okay, step 1. I'm going to start with my dog in 2 on 2 off position. Okay, got that. I have several treats ready. I have treats, I have toys, I have clickers. I'm going to get rid of the clicker right now because I can't click and speak to you and speak to her all at the same time. I have my target ready, and when I first start my target training, one of the biggest differences that I think that I do is I have the target in the air, so it looks like this. Yes, good. Yes, yes, good. Yes, yes. See my timing? My yes comes as soon as she touches her nose to the target. Yes, yes, good. Yes, yes. So this is my last treat, so I'm going to do this. Yes, get it! Get that target, get it! Good. And as we're practicing it, get it. I need to make sure that we're playing in between the reps so that we keep the energy high. Yes, okay, how about? Good girl. All right, so we're going to try that again. She's in position, and I'm working on my target. Now, once she can do that, I'm going to work on getting the target to be lower. So, yes, if she can target here, yes, yes. I can start, yes, yes, to lower the, yes, 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 good. Yes, yes, excellent. Good, yes, yes, good. Yes, okay, get it, good girl. And again, when I release, I'm either releasing off to a tug or I'm throwing my reward forward. All right, next step. This is the last step I'm going to show you with this, and then there's way more, but this just gets you started. Is starting to work on teaching it with a verbal. The biggest thing that I see people do when they train this is they say, target, and they point down at the target, and they're giving the, yes, good girl. They're giving the dog, all good girl, all these extra cues. I need my dog to learn to do this on a verbal, so this is the hardest part. Okay, back up for a second. When I say target, I want her to dive down, and I want her to target her nose to that lid right away. When you first start this, what is going to happen is your dog is going to step down. They are going to look at you, and then they're going to drop their head. And what a lot of people do is they yes the feet. They do not yes the nose, and that's where you need to be very particular. So I want you to watch my timing. I'm going to yes when her feet hit and her nose goes down. She doesn't get a yes for the feet. She gets a yes for the both. Ready? My food's ready. Set. Target. Yes. Yes. Good girl. Now, because she's had many repetitions of me doing this correctly, yes. Do you see how fast her nose goes down? Yes. Good girl. Yes. Yes, yes, excellent. Yes, okay, get it. All right, and then I can release from here. Okay, babe, one more time. Hop it up. Hold on, back up. Good, ready, set, target. Yes, good. Yes, 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 good. Yes, yes, okay, get it. Good girl. Again, listen to the tone of my voice. It's not like target. Yes, yes, good. Okay, get it. So boring. You got to be exciting. You should be animated and making it very exciting. And if I find that she's not really that into it, then I can maybe play with her, have her jump up and then go right down into the target without any delay. So you need to build a lot of value. The moment my dog is not doing what I want her to do, I need to make it easier because they can learn it wrong just as fast as they can learn it right. Before I do any of this type of behavior, okay, my dog has learned a lot of body awareness, back end awareness, where she's learning to keep her back feet in position, to climb up things with her back feet, so she's really aware of her body. That way when I go to do this step, she's really good at it already. She's coordinated, she understands all those types of things. Okay, I want to move on to something else, but are there any questions about these steps at all?
Why don't you go on to something else and we'll intentionally stop and then the people can ask a question.
Okay. So that builds a little bit of value for the target. So the next thing that I want to do is actually go back to the dog walk itself and talk about some important things that you need to remember when you're training through the actual contact. I'm going to talk about some different common mistakes here. Okay, I'm sorry, but I have to get a different toy. This toy is not
okay.
Not working for me.
let's go back in time for a few minutes. And this exercise is brought to you by this pink fuzzy toy.
Okay.
That Ken thought was a great idea, but apparently
I'll tell you why I don't like the toy. Stop. I'll tell you why I don't like the toy. I don't like the toy because I can't throw it very well. It just lands and it flops. So I love training with wubbas. I like training with toys that have a little bit of weight. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to switch dogs. I know I'm being really annoying right now. I'm going to switch dogs because Funky's going to bark and I need to be able to talk. So, sorry. Okay. Here, Fun. Come here, bud.
No problem. Now is the time, guys, to ask your questions. This is where we are. I'm sort of behind the camera trying to make sure that you guys get the best view of what's going on. And I'm also collecting your questions from the live chat on YouTube. So if you have clicked a link on Facebook, you're likely still inside of Facebook. You probably can't even see the chat. So close out, go to YouTube, and that's where you can jump in the conversation as we move along.
Okay, the next thing that I was going to talk about is common mistakes. And I've just written a few things down here so I don't forget. Common mistakes is the biggest reason why people struggle with their contacts is they mess them up when they're competing. Most people practice contacts fairly well. Where dogs struggle with maintaining good criteria is in competition. And the absolute best thing to do is to videotape yourself, because I think you will be unpleasantly surprised at how inconsistent we can be when our mind is on 18 different things when we're running around the course. It's really, really hard to be successful in the happy.
So, a couple great questions in the chat that I think are great to maybe talk about now, or talk that we're going to mention. Why are you teaching a nose target rather than 2 on 2 off? Is this something we'll discuss in a little bit?
No, I'll talk about that right now.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, why I teach a nose target, not 2 on 2 off? Because the biggest issue with dogs and targets is their head placement. And what you do not want a dog to do when they're learning to do contacts is look at you. I want my dog to drive as fast as they possibly can down to the bottom of the contact without looking at me. You actually don't want your dog to look at you that much in agility. Of course, there are a few select times where it is imperative that they look at you when you ask them to, but contacts is not one of them. I don't want my dog running along the contact and then staring at me, and I want my dog going to the bottom of the contact and turning off to the side because they're staring at me. So I teach the nose tap for 2 reasons. Number 1, it teaches better head placement. Number 2, it teaches faster drive down to the end of the contact because the dog's driving towards something. There's more longevity in it, and then over time, I will fade the nose tap. I don't make my dog's nose tap or nose target for very long. I use it to initially teach the behavior, and then I wean off of it. So hopefully that's helpful. So back to common mistakes. People are often very inconsistent in trials. They early release. They allow their dog to jump off. You know, if your dog makes a mistake in practice, you usually are going to go back and correct that. So just be careful about that. The other thing that you may be interested to know is I practice my contacts on a regular basis. I would say several times a week. And I don't practice in a course or a sequence. I literally practice individual contacts. I'm always thinking about my performance so that if something even very small seems off, like she's not driving down to the end as fast as I want, or maybe she's self-releasing and I don't want that, then I am going to nip that in the bud right away and not allow it to fester into a huge problem. So practicing on a regular basis is really important. And then the last thing is that often people don't train the behavior well enough. So it's not independent enough, which means the dog starts to rely on things like your emotion, whether you're stopping or whether you're going, how close you are, whether you're pointing at the target, whether you're turning and facing them. I want the behavior to be so independent that she can do it in any place at any time, no matter what we're doing. So you're training to a really high degree before you go. So I'm going to get her on the contact, and I'm just going to go through a couple different common things that I do in my training when I'm working through some contacts. And this is going to be good because I haven't done some targets with her in quite some time because I've been working on my running.
And right after that, we're going to sit down and talk about some of the there's some great questions about contact training in the chat, and we'll discuss some of those.
Okay, so because I haven't worked my target in quite some time, I'm actually going to put my target plate back in, just a reminder about what we're doing. So I'm going to put my target in, it's going to warm her up for a second. Target. Yes, 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 good. Yes, 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 good girl, good. All right, okay, good girl. All right, and then what I'm going to do is just work a little bit on the down ramp. Come here, babe. Up, up, up. Good. Now, when I begin, there's a couple things I could do. I could work on some lateral distance. I could run beside her. I have my toy ready. I'm going to race her, so we go really fast first. Ready, set, okay, target. Yes! good. Okay, get it. Good girl. So another thing, another thing that's really important to remember is how you reward your dog. You do not want to reward your dog the same way every single time. If I really like the drive down to the end of the contact, I might go back and reward several times for her target, or I might just release her forward, getting her thinking about getting down quickly and getting off quickly. Okay, up. There. Ready? Wait, so I'm going to change it up again. Ready, set, go. Target. Yes, good. Target. Okay, get it. Good girl. Again, I'm testing, can she still target when I ask her, when I'm at a little bit of a distance? Good girl. Yes, good girl. Okay, now up. I'm going to try something different. Wait. I'm going to maybe add a little bit of motion. Okay, target. I almost got you. Good girl. So I felt like her balance was a little bit forward there, so I am not going to reward her forward with the toy. I'm always going to work in opposition to my dog. So if I think she's too forward, I'm going to come back and I'm going to reward her. Yes, in position. Good girl. See how I'm reaching over top and I'm pushing her back with the treat? That's to teach her to sit back in her back end, be balanced. Yes, good girl. And then I'm going to release her off the contact calming. Okay, so that coming off isn't as exciting as going on. Okay, I'm going to show you one more thing before we break. One of the little tricks that I like to do, okay, you have to get off for a sec, is I like to raise the end of the dog walk off. Sit, wait, like this. Okay, and I do that to create a ledge, and that gets me a really nice diving behavior, similar to what I would teach if I'm doing a plank. So I'm going to go ahead and practice again. I'm going to send her over the full dog walk now. And again, I don't really know how I'm going to reward her. I always decide based on what performance I get from my dog. If she rips down to the bottom, then I really like it. I will go in and jackpot reward her, or I'll release her forward. If she runs right off the end, I would put her back on and not reward her for that. If she's slow coming down the plank, my rewarding would be very much forward to reinforce where I want her to go. Okay, ready? Yeah. Walk it. Target. Yes, good girl. Now, you see how she sat back in her position that time because of the rewarding? I'm going to come in and I'm going to reinforce her for that. See how I'm pushing her back and I'm rewarding with her head away from me? Again, this is to teach her not to turn in this direction. Good girl, miss, beeline. And I'm going to test her one more time. Ready, set, target. Yes. Target. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes I would say ready, set, okay. Sometimes I say ready, set, target. I don't want her to anticipate. I want her to listen. But again, I'm like out of breath right now because I'm running and I'm cheering and I'm making it very exciting. If you are not huffing at the end of your practice session, it probably means that you're not really putting enough into it. And quite honestly, if I wasn't doing a live stream right now, that might be all that I do. A lot of people practice contacts too long, and they practice and they repeat and repeat and repeat, and it's so boring. So hype it up, make it exciting, pull the plug, move on to something else so that this becomes a highlight for your dog from there. Okay, take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break.
Be so
We have tons of great questions coming in.
Yes. I can also use a less trained dog as well.
It's so nice.
That was really good what she did there.
Yeah, so and maybe we can, we do have another dog on standby. That'll be great for you guys. Now welcome back. You guys are asking some really great questions, both from entry level or beginner agility handlers all the way up to some seasoned vets. So there's so many questions. I hope we get to them all. But let's get started here. I'm going to
try to answer them fast. Oh my God, you guys are crazy. This is amazing.
Yeah. So let's talk about this one. I did my first fun match trial with my young dog. JWW was awesome on
jumpers with weaves.
Yep. On contact obstacles, we seem to lose connection going up.
Okay, I don't really know what that means.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe she misses connection. I'm not sure. Melinda, let us know. Does that mean like your dog, breaks right through the contact at the end contact behavior?
Be more specific. Losing
Oh,
connection
you know what?
isn't
She's got another comment here. She
specific
says, I'm
enough.
not sure if it's lack of confidence, but she missed a lot of contacts, and in some occasions it led to zoomies. Zoomies were directly after missed contacts.
Okay, so that's more of an obedience training problem. That's more of a basic obedience training problem. You need to be able to work enough on her listening skills that she isn't likely to do the zoomies. Often dogs will do the zoomies in those situations because they're going from a stop to a go, and that's not always a terribly motivating thing unless you make it motivating. So you need to change her mind to think that targeting and stopping at the end and doing a fun behavior like nose tapping or whatever you choose to do is more reinforcing than running around. She's basically saying that she doesn't really care about doing that and she'd rather go reward herself. So you need to raise your obedience training so that your dog is doing agility, for you, not deciding when they're going to do it and then deciding, okay, I don't feel like doing it right now. I'd rather do my own thing. So if you enhance obedience, that will certainly help a lot.
Sue Bricker. I'm with all revved up. My dog drives forward too well. The weight is too far forward and often lands with weight forward and rear feet come off.
Yep.
Sometimes she puts them back down or comes off.
Okay, that's a really common thing. If that's the case, you should go back and reward the dog in a bow position, push the dog back. Kind of like what I was doing with B as well. She'll really do that too. If I do a lot of running contacts and then I switch to the target, she just really powers down. The other thing is think about if you put a nose target in, is she still doing that if there's a nose plate in? If she's doing it without the nose plate, I bet if you put a target plate back in, she'll rock back and then you can reinforce her for that. And then I was going to say one more thing and I just had a brain fart.
So you mentioned you'll put the target plate back in. And we know as dog trainers that it's a dynamic process. It's not the end of the world if you do need to take a step back in your training.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point because a lot of people say, well, I'm past that. I did that when they were learning. So my dogs, even with Funky, I just retired her this last year at 11 years old. And even as I was preparing for world championships, that type of thing, to keep her driving down quickly to the bottom, if I was doing like a really hard exit or whatever it might be, I would put the target plate back in. Anytime there is a glimmer of a problem, I put the target plate back in so that the behavior or the problem doesn't become this huge thing. It's like a tiny, the problem pokes its head up and I say, nope, not happening. And then I put the target back in to reinforce. So you can put it in and out and in and out. It does not matter how fantastic your dog is or how green your dog is. It can be really helpful. But Sue, I would put the target back in and work a little bit also on tugging at the end of the contact and literally try to pull her off of the contact. And each time she chooses to rock back to kind of keep her back feet on, I can actually even show you that.
Yeah. So
then you need to yes and reward. So your dog is understanding that the yes is for rocking back. It's not for holding the contact while they tug. You're specifically yesing or clicking in that moment. It's easier to use yes because your hands are probably on the target when she rocks back. So there's a couple ideas there for you.
Said, how do you get her to tug with her back feet still on the dog walk?
Well,
yeah, how appropriate. And then Angie Powinski said, like Katie, my dog won't tug on contacts. He thinks it's taboo or something.
Yeah. So some dogs won't tug on contacts for a couple reasons. Maybe they're not motivated enough by the tug. So that might not be a good option unless you're going to work on some enhanced tug work on the flip side. Tugging on the contact is not the be all end all. I have a toy poodle who does not like to tug on the end of the contact. That's not an enjoyable thing. She needs to go outside. Oh. She just asked to go to the door. Good girl, sweetie. In agility, you need to do what's we used to certainly can train your dog to like a tug toy and to that type of thing. But if they're not innately enjoying it, that's not really going to enhance their behavior. You have to do things that they're really, really going to like. So that is an option, but it's not something that everybody has to do. Other dogs are so stocky or so high-minded that they won't tug on the toy. And in that case, I would force the issue and I would really practice on it. Did you have to pee? To help them be successful. But if it's like a lack of motivation, then you might work on the tugging in a different situation. Don't be working on that in the contacts because it's already an intimidating and stressful position. You would need to keep things light for those types of dogs.
Shandy Blake asks, question, if you have been bad about letting criteria slide at trials, is it worth changing your verbal cue to something new?
I mean, you can. it's not like that's going to like solve the problem. But you could do that if you wanted to. What you really need to do is need to go back and proof like some motion things, so that the dog's understanding not to break when you're moving, because usually in trials, that's like the biggest thing. Or really practice quick releasing versus making her hold, quick releasing versus making her hold. Because in trials, what happens is if you quick release, or excuse me, early release just once or twice, for some people and for some dogs, you're screwed for the rest of the day. So you need to really work on your timing so that you're releasing at the proper time. I wonder if I should show, I'm not going to do an early release because I'm not going to mess my dog up.
I think,
but I should show a quick release because it's very specific.
So there's a couple situations here where I think we can chat about it, like set that up a little bit better. So Kelly Fortney asks, how do I proof this for high energy trials? We have a great stop contact at home at a practice, but a trial.
This is like the most common question of all time.
Yeah,
so you are not alone.
No.
A couple things. Again, literally we could go on about this forever.
Yep.
And everybody's a little bit different based on what you're doing. But number one, when you're practicing, you need to make sure the hype is high. So you'll notice even when I was doing stuff with Funky, with just like the travel plank, I was holding her collar, ready, set, like just making her mad, making her crazy, and then making her target. So I teach my dog to function under stimulation right from the beginning, because I would rather make her mistakes here on this dorky little travel plank than after doing entire full dog walks. So the hype needs to be really high. When we're proofing in class, sometimes we'll have other people run on the other side of the contact and yell like, ready, set, like just drive the dog crazy. Or people will clap, or we'll turn the music on, and we make the feeling in the room a little bit more exciting so that we can proof the dog, and hopefully cause them to make a mistake so that you can correct it. In a trial, if your dog is making a lot of errors, I would highly suggest staying away from any of the organizations that do not allow you to train in the ring. So no CKC, no AKC, nothing like that. You need to go to situations where you can go in FEO and train through it. So if your dog gets caught in the act of breaking the contact, and then you can correct it, and there is a specific way to correct it as well, that's going to fix your problem. But dogs know in a test, if you're doing a competition, that's a test. So if they break position, in most situations, we're not allowed to put them back on. So now dogs are very smart. They're situational learners. They learn, okay, in this situation, I must hold my contact. Otherwise, you put me back on and you make me stay there. And in this situation, I can get away with it. Or you don't have the same criteria, or you don't look the same as you do over here.
Maureen's got a good question. Do you use verbal cues and also train the dog to know its job on a contact? Dog walk means run to the end and give a 2 on, 2 off.
So my dog has, so if I say walk it, that will always be followed by a target for a beeline. If I say run, that's when she does her running contact. So I do not say walk it, and I don't say target if I intend her to run. If you have stop contacts, I don't like when people have one word for the whole thing. So when people say frame, well, frame means stop at the end. They're two totally different behaviors. One means get on it, and one means doing something very, very specific at the bottom. So I highly suggest that your target command has, or target behavior has, a specific command, because if your dog does not meet that criteria, it's not always a good idea to put them right back on the whole thing again. I would correct the behavior that they did wrong, and then I would complete it. They're doing two behaviors. They're doing the obstacle, and then they're doing the target. So I prefer to have two commands because it's two behaviors.
Yep. Great. I don't know whether we should move on to the next thing. Actually, let's touch on Maureen's question. If you don't have access to regular equipment, will travel planks and stairs, etc., be adequate? And I think this is common for most people.
Yeah, I would practice anywhere on anything that you possibly can think of. The more experience that you can give your dog, the more practice that you can have is going to bleed over. But you just have to keep in mind that dogs are going to base things a lot off of your body language. So it's imperative that when you're training this behavior, that you teach the behavior to be independent. So if you can envision me practicing with beeline before, hopefully if you watched it back, you wouldn't be able to tell about anything physical that I was doing that was cueing her to target. It had everything to do with my verbal. And that allows me to be in any position. And she can target on my stairs. She can target on a rock outside. I can prop her up and put her back legs on a tree and make her target. I practice all over the place just to enhance the behavior, but you could practice everywhere perfectly, and then you could go into a trial and you could mess up your criteria and then you've blown it. So you have to be consistent even though you're practicing in different locations.
For sure. I don't know whether we're going to move on to this. Speak to that or.
Yep, I can say that.
KDC has a good question. I've heard having stop contacts in the A-frame is bad for your dog's shoulders. Is this true?
No. It's not true in all cases. I believe that the upside of the A-frame is far more detrimental to your dog's body than the down ramp is. Now, if you have a big, heavy dog, if you have an overweight dog, if you have a dog that's not fit, absolutely slamming to the bottom of the contact, especially if they're not taught to rock back, is definitely going to be harder on their shoulders. But if you watch a dog in slow motion go up the A-frame, it's pretty sickening, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, quite dramatic.
I actually don't do a lot of A-frames in my practice because I am so afraid of my dog being injured. Now, I'm lucky I have a tiny little 23-pound border collie who doesn't really hit anything very hard. But with my other dogs, I was very cautious. The up ramp is far more. If it was up to me in agility, all A-frames would be set much lower, but I'm not in charge of agility. So, but no, it's not the end of the world. I would just limit your repetitions. I would work hard on keeping your dog light and fit. I would work hard on teaching them how to use their body properly so they're not slamming on their front end. So it's not the end of the world if you're doing it, but everything needs to be in moderation. Your weave pulls, your jumping, your wraps, whatever it is. This sport is full of injury. Full of it. Yeah. So you just have to be really aware. So I wouldn't be too worried about it, but I don't know.
Let's talk about what we're going to do next. I think it's time to head back over to the training location. And what do you want to show us here?
Let's see. Maybe I can work on some proofing exercises for ideas on or maybe some.
I would love if you were able to do that, because Jean Emery asks, please talk more about proofing the release, especially for a dog that self-releases in a trial, but not when training due to a higher arousal state in trial.
Yeah, okay.
How appropriate, Jean. You set us up very nicely. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Okay, so where's your toy? I'm going to do a couple dog walks then, and I'm actually, one of my favorite things to do is to do a couple quick releases and then follow that up with making her hold, because I want to build up anticipation so she thinks she knows what I'm going to say. Hopefully she breaks, and then I can show you how to correct it. So I would love for her to be wrong. Okay, come on, bring it on.
Okay. You ready to go right off the bat?
Yeah, I'm going to take the target out.
Okay, then we're going to go over to camera 2. Time to train.
Ready, set, get out. Whoa, that was tough. Top. Sorry, be top. Yes. Walk it. Target. Whoa! Good
Perfect.
try. Okay.
What a perfect opportunity.
She tried, and you'll notice that she knows the drill. If she's wrong, see how she put herself back into position? So I'm not going to yes and reward this. I'm not going to give her a toy, but I don't want to be upset with her, because what she did was actually really sweet. She said, ah, crap, sorry, Mom. And she put herself back into position. So I'm going to reinforce her for that. Good girl. Okay. Okay. And I'm also going to think about why she did that. Why she did that, I believe, is I didn't give her a target command nearly soon enough. She was going so fast. So I'm going to see if I can have better timing and hopefully help her be right. Good girl, baby. Hey, stop jumping. This jump is too high for you. Okay, come here. Ready? Pop, pop. Walk in. Target. Yes! Good girl. Good girl. Now, I said before we started that I was going to do a quick release. Any ideas why I would not do a quick release there? Hopefully that would make sense to you. It's because on the previous repetition, she came off. So it would be foolish for me to do a quick release and let her come off quickly. I need to reinforce her for holding position. So now I'm going to do a quick release. Okay. Walk in. Target. Okay. Yes. Good girl. So she hit criteria, and I released immediately. Her front feet were on the floor. Her head was dropped. Then I said, okay, ready? Walk in! Target! Okay, good girl. All right. I'm going to test her now. Ready? want to release her off the contact because I just did that twice. I need to go back and make holding the contact really good. Yes, get that thing. Beeline, you're the smartest dog in the whole world. Get it, get it, get it, get it. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. Yes! Tug, tug, uh-oh, uh-oh. Yay! Tug, 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 tug. Tug, tug, tug. Okay, good. Okay, so she did another great thing there. Her back end came off as I was tugging with her, and I just told her, uh-oh, and I've done a lot of shaping, so she knows that the game won't start again until her back feet are on the plank and in position. Okay, good girly. Yay!
So just, can you summarize really quickly what happened there? Like, just talk through the mistake that she made and it just reinforce what was happening.
Okay. I thought I just did that, sorry.
Well, you did, but I think it's important that we...
Okay, go over it again?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I set out to practice a quick release. She blew the contact on the first one. She was going too fast. I didn't give her the cue early enough. She came off, so instead of doing a quick release, I chose to go back and reward her for holding position. I did a couple quick releases in a row. I was hoping that when I didn't say okay right away and I sort of blasted past her, that she would come off the contact. But she's wiser than that because we have played this game many times so that she doesn't do that. And then I went back to reward her. And again, I chose to go back to reward her in position rather than releasing her forward, since that's the hard part for her. Now, I would have done it a little bit differently if I had a dog that was coming slow down the contact. If they're slowly coming down the plank, I would do much, much more of releasing forward, much less of going back to reward.
Great. Want to sit down again?
Sure.
See what's happening in the chat? Okay, let's head on over here.
I should say the other thing that I would do is if I'm not getting the drive down to the target that I really like, because I think that's a common thing. Some dogs will run right off the end, but I think the biggest thing that I see is dogs don't go down to the end of the contact fast enough. And you see how fast she goes down? That's because we've done so much revving and playing for coming down to the contact. We also do lots of restraint recalls. So like someone else would hold her at the top of the plank and I would stand at the bottom and I would say, ready, set, target. And then she would run down. So it was a little bit more exciting. I also did a lot of having her target, releasing her and then throwing a ball forward or throwing a Frisbee forward so that she's really thinking about driving off. But again, when you do that, you have to maintain good criteria. You can't let how they're actually doing the target fall apart. The other thing that I'll suggest for a lot of people to do is put a target at the end of the contact and put some treats on it. This is like old school, people. Looks like this, okay? I wouldn't put that many, I would just put one, so I went a little overboard there. One or two.
Makes sense.
All right, so when the dog goes down, the first thing they're gonna do is drop their head to get the treat, and that gives me the proper time to click as soon as that head drops, and then I can follow through with multiple rewards from there. If your dog's doing a lot of looking at you, that is the first thing that I would practice and get rid of, because that is gonna lead to a lot of your problems. You've gotta get the dog driving down to the bottom of the contact, and you can go back and retrain this stuff. So if your dog's been doing agility for a bit and you're seeing some weaknesses or maybe some areas where you can improve, you absolutely can go back and revisit some of these things.
So Julia Short she's an intuitive, because she asked the question, well, what do you do if they start creeping down instead of driving down to the target?
I would stop doing a full dog walk. I would just do the down ramp, and I would also do some jumping up from the side. Actually, I should show you that because it's harder than it looks.
Okay. Changing on the fly. Let's do this. Okay, going over to camera 2.
Okay, so target is out. Okay, off for a second. Here. Sit. Wait. Target is out. A couple pieces of food on the target. Okay, there's 2 things I would do. Where's your treats? Ooh. I have a clicker in my right hand. I'm going to switch it though, because I like to feed. I always like to feed with the hand closest to the dog. I don't think it really matters, but I feel most coordinated that way. And I have a clicker in this hand, treats in that right hand. Ready, set, okay, target. Yes, good girl. I clicked the wrong, yes. Yes, good girl. Yes, yes, good. Okay, some dogs will go fast that way. Okay. Other dogs, you have to do this. Come here, off. Be. Be here. Sit. See how crazy she is about this though? Yeah, I know she's a border collie. Not all border collies are like this. I have made her that way by making this game super intense. I'm going to put a couple treats, and I am going to start with her off of the contact. Ready, set, okay, target. Yes, good. So again, notice the timing of my click. It was when her head was dropped towards the target. Good girl. Yes. Okay, get it. Good girl. So you can start with them on the side and have them jump up and go down. For some dogs, that's more exciting than starting static and stationary. Just gives them a little bit more movement. But I wouldn't do the whole contact. I would make it look very different than what they're used to so that you can build it back in. Also, if you're, another thing I'll suggest to people is rather than working a full height dog walk, put it down low. Put it super low because the dogs are much more likely to run fast over a low dog walk. Again, it looks different. Just go back to the earlier stages in your training.
Okay, great question.
It's so hot right now because our fans aren't on.
Okay, yeah, we have to keep the fans off, which makes it a little bit warmer in here. Normally it's nice and cool. Let's see, Maureen Mello. I can turn it down in just a moment. Did I send it over? No, I might not have. Did I send it over that time? No, I don't think so.
What is it?
Okay, so she says, I find it hard to get 2 on, 2 off on the A-frame. Less time to give command. I also find my dog creeps down the A-frame, but not to the dog walk. Suggestion to stop creeping.
Yeah, the same thing I said for the last thing.
Yeah.
Put your target out, put your food out, lower the A-frame, make it really low. Make sure that you go back and look to see when you were releasing the dog. Chances are you were probably releasing the dog at inconsistent times. And that what happens, why releasing at a wrong time creates creeping is if your dog comes down and they go to the same spot every single time before you release them, they will run very quickly to that spot, knowing and anticipating that that is the location they are going to hear their release. The problem with people with contacts, though, is they don't keep their criteria and they release the dog when they get like one paw in, or sometimes they don't even know where the dog is when they say okay because their mind's on like the front cross they have to get to. So then what happens is the dog runs down and then they slow down saying, okay, you're going to release me here? Are you going to release me here? Or are you going to release me here? Because they've heard their release command in all of these different locations. One of the reasons why I don't get any creeping for my dogs is because I shouldn't say never because that's very bold, but I hardly ever try not to release her until she's actually in position at the bottom of the contact. I'm not going to early release her release before she's met the contact. And the reason why she drives so quickly is because she only ever hears the command in that location. So she wants to get to that spot quickly so that I can release her to go on to the next thing.
Yeah, and someone had asked, and I just lost our chat, but someone had asked, do you ever use hoops for the up, on the up ramp of the contact?
No. No, it's a little bit too visual. I'll use a stride bar or I'll shape the dog to touch the up contact with like clicker and rewards. I'll lower the A-frame and then slowly build it up. I mean, you can use a hoop, but they're going to do it great with the hoop in and then they're going to probably jump again when the hoop is out. So it's a little bit too visual for my liking.
Right. So what's the next point that you wanted to talk about?
That's all my points.
Or with your contact training? Okay, well, you know what? That's perfect because that's all the time we have.
Yeah.
So
we didn't really go in the right order, but we happened to get most of the things I was going to talk about.
For sure. Which is, I think
there's actually probably more that I could talk about, like reward placement and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think we did good.
Yeah, I think that there are tons of great questions, and we had lots of great engagement on the chat. I think you guys could probably benefit. We do our After Hours Agility once a month. We do it on a Tuesday night. The rest of the time, our lives are on Thursday nights. So that's called, and we call that the train station, where we talk all about dog training for an hour.
If you want to learn more about agility specifically, we do post some things on the McCann Dogs site from time to time, but we also have McCann Dogs Agility Instagram and Facebook as well, and YouTube channel. So if you want to see more agility specific things, then you can follow us on any of those platforms.
For sure.
Again, it's at McCann Dogs Agility. I post things on Instagram and everything on a regular basis. And I'm seeing some people ask about, where we are. So we're located in Flamborough, Ontario. If you're really
an hour from Toronto.
Yeah, if you're really far away, you can contact us online.
Yeah.
There's lots of different ways that you can get a hold of us.
For sure. We actually have free mystery box workshop that we do every month. And if you'd like to do more with your dog, and this isn't agility focused, this is for like trick training and skills workshops. But we do that every month. You can check that out. I definitely suggest you go to mcanndogs.com and you can check out our online training. It'll take you to that free workshop through there.
And I gotta say, guys, as a professional agility trainer and coach, if I can give you any advice on how to have like the absolute best agility dog, have great obedience on your dog.
Right.
Every single one of my dogs gets high obedience training first. And I'm not talking like competitive, open novice utility. I'm talking about just basic, good listening skills, respect, emotional control, distraction work,
right.
recall, walking, all that kind of stuff. My dogs know that stuff inside out and backwards. And that helps with start lines. It helps with contacts. It helps with, impulse control, all of those different things. I can't stress to you enough how important it is to do some dog training. The better dog trainer you are, the better agility dog you're going to have.
So true. I need to say a big thank you, and you guys saw him in the chat, to Dan, the moderator man. Go live to Dan. We love when Dan comes out, hangs out with us, gives us lots of help in the live stream, but in this situation, he's also helping us literally in the after hours agility. So we have to thank him for that. Now, we publish new videos every single week on the channel, so if this is your first time with us, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that I can help you have a well-behaved four-legged family member. It's been a great time. I've really enjoyed this.
You guys had great questions.
Yeah, tons of value, so I want to thank you for watching. And on that note, she doesn't pick up.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
On that note, this is Kayl. I'm Ken. I want to wish you guys happy training. Bye for now.
I had no idea what's going on.
Bye, guys. Have fun.